Hello everyone, welcome back to Tech Reflections and I'm Vikram. This video is part 2 of the lecture I posted last week on Excel formulas and functions. In part 1, we have already covered sum, count, count A and average functions. If you have not yet watched that part, then I suggest you watch that video. Link is there in the I button at the top right and also in the description. Guys, if you have not yet subscribed, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel Tech Reflections so that you know whenever a new video lecture is uploaded. Let's now get started with part 2. Next formula is SUMIF. So we have already worked upon sum. So SUMIF is little different from what we have done earlier. This SUMIF is also calculating the sum, but it is on the basis of a criteria. Like if you see, it's used for adding numeric cells within a defined range on the basis of a criteria. Okay. So the additional thing is that we have a criteria here. If you see the syntax, we have SUMIF, then range, criteria, and sum range. So sum range is optional here. If we don't put sum range, then the sum would calculate the sum of all the values within the range on the basis of the criteria. But if we define the sum range, then it will calculate, it will sum up the values in some range on the basis of the criteria applied on the range part. So this is what we are trying to see here. So in the usage, we would be having sum of a selected range on the basis of a criteria, then sum of the entire row or column on the basis of a criteria, and then next two are sum of some range on the basis of a criteria applied to another range or cell, range and cells. And the last one is sum of a row or column. That is, here we have row or column as the sum range on the basis of a criteria applied to another row or column. So this row, another row or column is the range part. So let's see how it is done. So here, first of all, we'll see how SUMIF will work on a range. So let us put the formula. So this is the same. This is the same syntax that we used earlier. So here we have a range, then criteria, and then sum range. The range is the first part on which we want to put the criteria. So let's say for this we use a column H in our data, that is uh, having the column having the value as total. So let's first select it a range. So for example, let me select H2 to H11. This as our range. And then what is the criteria? Let me see that we want to see only those we want to sum only those values which are above 2000. Okay. So in the criteria part, I'll put greater than 2000 within the quotes, and this time I'll not use the sum range. So and I close the bracket and finally press the enter. So in this case, if you see in our range, how many values are there above 2000? So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. All in all, we have total 4 values which are above 2000. So uh, all those values which are above 2000 would be sum according to our formula. So the answer is 12,550. Okay, so this we have worked upon a range. Now let's see if we want to do the same on a full column. So we just put the formula here, sum f, and this time I select the whole column. As you know how to select the full column, we have done this earlier. So this time it is H to H, and then the second part we'll put the criteria. Let us put the same criteria, that is greater than 2000, and we close the bracket, enter. So now all the values in column H that are greater than 2000, are summed up, and the answer we got is 38,350. Now let's see how SUMIF will work when we add some range also to it. Okay, so this is the formula, and we select the same range, that is H2 to H12. Then we give the criteria just to be consistent. I mean, giving the same criteria here. And this time I'll add a sum range. So what we are trying to do here is that this time I want to add the units for the orders where the total order price is more than 2000. So we want the sum to be on units. So we'll select the unit as the sum range. One thing we need to take care of here is that the sum range should be of the same values or the same number of rows or columns as we have in the earlier range on which we are applying the criteria. So both have to be of same length. Okay, so I'll close the bracket and enter. So this time, total units sold when the total price is more than 2000 is 251. So this time we have used this sum range. Again, now this sum range will be used for the full column in our case. So how will we do it? This sum if, and this time in the range, I'll select the whole H column. This is our range, and then the criteria. Again, it would be 2000, and for calculating the units or adding up the units, I'll select unit column for this, and if you enter, so there are total 623 units sold for the orders where the total order price is more than 2000. So this way we'll use the sum if function. Now let us move to COUNTIF. So now this COUNTIF is a function that is used for adding numeric cells within the defined range on the basis of a criteria. Again, here, as we have done in the SUMIF, this COUNTIF also works for a criteria. So we will see two usage here. We will have count from the selected range on the basis of a criteria, then count from a row or column on the basis of a criteria. Okay, let's see how it is done. So in this COUNTIF, we'll have first of all the range, and on the basis of that we will calculate. So let me put the formula here. COUNTIF, we'll start the bracket, we'll give a range. Again, let me use our same H2 to H12 as the range, and then in the criteria I'll give the same criteria. We can change the criteria also. We can have less than, greater than, equal to, or whatever value we can give. Criteria will be able to calculate the or the count or some function will be able, some function will be able to sum those values which which are as per the criteria that we have entered here. So close the bracket and see there are total in our range that we have selected. There are total 4 values which are above 2000. Okay, now we'll do for the whole column. This is COUNTIF, and then the range. This time I'll give full column as a range and the same criteria. Or let us do this time a different criteria. Let me see if I want to have count the orders which are having the value more than 3000. See here, so we got only 5 such orders where the value is more than 3000. So this way the COUNTIF function will work, and we'll move to the next function now. Next function is if. Now, if is the most one of the most powerful functions we have, because this function evaluates a logical test on the basis of that returns a value, whether it is a true or false. So it is used for returning used for returning if function is used for returning values on the basis of whether the condition is resulting into a true or false. So the syntax here is if, then we have a logical test. Here we will put the values that we want to test, and on the basis of that values, on the basis of that test, whether the test results in a true, then the value if true would be returned, and if that logical test returns false, then value if false part would be returned. So this usage we will see with an example. So for if function, let us consider a scenario that we would be providing commission to all those sales where the sale value is more than 2,500. So how are we going to do that? Let us have a column named commission here, and under this we will add the formula for the first row. So the formula, first of all, it asks for a logical test. The logical test would be that any value in column H should be, if it is more than 2,500, then let's say we will have yes under the commission column. Otherwise, we will have no for the commission column. So as the H2 is having value as 2,500, which is not greater than 2,500. So the resultant is that there will be no in the commission column for this. Now, to get this value for all the rest of the data, we just go to the right side of this cell, and if you can see, we have a plus sign there. This is a handle. We can just press the left mouse button and drag it till the row where we have the data and leave it. So our formula gets copied for all the rows here, and due to the relative reference it uses, the formula gets updated for each and every row. So if you can see, we entered the formula for H2 only, but when we drag for any row, you can see the correspondingly the row number uh, has changed for our formula, and accordingly it has picked the right cell which needs to be evaluated for this commission field. So guys, this is what we planned for today's session. With this, we conclude today's lecture, and let me know which function you will be using or you are already using out of the ones we discussed today. Also, let me know which function you want me to cover in the next video in this series of videos lectures on functions. Bye, and thanks for watching.